Hello, YouTube family. Wanted to come to you today and kind of bring a little bit of a follow-up from the last video that I posted. The last video that I posted, I talked about, are you being pruned? What are some of the signs that you're being pruned, and just kind of some of the things that I learned and have been learning in my pruning process. I have been going through quite a bit of pruning over the past year and 9 months or so, almost 2 years. Let's just say 2 years. I've been going through quite a lot of pruning, and God has been pruning selfishness off of me. God has been pruning impatience off of me, and also in the process, I feel like God has been preparing me and developing me for different things that He'll be bringing into my life, different changes that He'll be bringing into my life. And I think with those changes requires me to be different, requires me to abandon selfishness and to be more selfless and more giving and more caring and more loving. And I think also, he he sort of pruned off of me selfish ambition. I had a lot of ambition. It was selfish ambition. I came into my walk with God with kind of a selfish ambition, and initially I thought that had been removed because I no longer cared about climbing up the corporate ladder. But I realized that I still was very, very selfishly ambitious in my endeavors, whatever it was, without really understanding, what it means to sacrifice, and not allowing myself to sacrifice in areas for the sake of others. And so I've been learning a lot about that. He pruned a lot of that off of me, that just the selfishness, just the selfish ambition. And really that selfish ambition is kind of like, pruning off of, I think for a while I was acting more like someone who was preparing to be a provider, someone who was preparing to be like a husband. I don't want to say, that's the best way to say it, but someone who is being groomed to be a provider. It's kind of how I had been living, just being a provider, thinking that I am the one that is being, kind of that independent woman syndrome. But I don't know if it's a syndrome, but that independent woman thing. And it wasn't that I was proud, putting myself up on a pedestal as this independent woman. But I think over time in life, when you go through certain changes and situations, we pick up on different things. And I picked up on I picked up on an understanding for me that I could not depend on anyone else to take care of me, that I had to do what I had to do for myself, because there was no one else that could take care of me. And I think in that you begin to realize that or feel like if I don't do it, it won't get done. And when I say that selfish ambition, kind of taking that off of me and helping me to see that He is my provider. He helps me, He leads me, He guides me, but He is my provider, and I submit to God. I submit to His plans for my life. I submit to His ways. I submit to His desires. I submit to His word. There's a submission that happens, and I had to abandon what I thought I knew and submit to God and give all of those things over to God. So this pruning process that I've been going through, I realized in the last video I didn't really talk too much about what was being pruned off me, but that is what was being pruned off of me. Selfishness, selfish ambition, some pride for sure, impatience. That's another thing. And then, like I said, just developing me and preparing me and really filling me up in a way that I believe sets me up for success in the next phase of my life, the next part of my life. We're all on this like one big journey, right? And so we go through down roads, and make turns, and sometimes we hit dead ends and things like that. And for me, I feel like right now I have gone as far as I can go on the road that I've been on. And it's like, it feels almost like I'm waiting for something. I'm just sitting here at the end of this road, and I have no direction from God as to which direction to go in, uh, or where to go, or anything. And and it's almost like I'm just at the end of a road. but but um but as I approach this road, there's been changes that I've been experiencing outside of, or in addition to, the pruning of certain character flaws that I really just don't need. I can't. There's nothing that I can do with selfishness. Selfishness. There's nothing that I can do with selfish ambition. There's nothing that I can do with pride. There's nothing that I can do. When I'm in a place where I'm not willing to sacrifice for the greater good of others. And there's nothing that I can do with unkindness. That was the other thing. I think before I knew God, I might not have been the kindest person, but he's developed me in a way. It's certainly supernatural, the way the Holy Spirit makes you more kind and more patient and more faithful and loving and joyful and all those things. It truly, a human being couldn't do it on their own. But as I approach a new season in my life, as I approach a new part of my journey, as I approach it, and I am certain that I am approaching it, or have already approached it, I have gone through some changes. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is these changes that I've gone through. To be honest, I think every time I've recognized that I was going into a new place, or leaving something behind, there was always that those moments required change from me. They required me to change something, to do something different. So over the past 5 years or so, actually probably a little bit longer, my weight has been a challenge. And then when I when I found out that Jesus was alive and well, and he was real, and all of the Bible was true, and all of that stuff, I lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight. I could not eat the same way that I was eating prior to. I couldn't drink alcohol anymore. I could not get high anymore. I used to, I did not like smoking, but I found out that I was I knew I was smart, but I found a way. I was like, well, I can figure out for myself how to bake, and how to pull the THC out of marijuana, and how to bake. And so I did that. And so I had started seriously at 32 years old. I had started baking, and I had this whole idea about I'm going left right now. But I'll finish. So I had started baking, and I had this whole big idea that I was going to make salad dressings, and I was going to dress my French fries, and I was going to make chips, and all kinds of food that was laced with marijuana. And I thank God, I thank God for growth. And yeah, I'm thinking about something that had happened when I first learned how to make these chocolate chip cookies. And sweets has always been a thing for me, a battle for me, because I've always liked cookies and cake and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking about a situation where I first started doing that, and I had made some chocolate chip cookies, and I tell you, it was probably it was a scary moment in my life, because I ate more than one cookie. So I had essentially overdosed, and I was home alone, and so it was a scary moment. But anyway, I went through changes. I went through these changes. I couldn't eat the same. I couldn't get high. I couldn't drink. I stopped cursing. I didn't want to curse anymore. I didn't want to do any of those things anymore. So changes, but overall, over those times, the changes with diet and all that stuff has been it's been right there at the forefront. There's been seasons where I've been able to eat normally, and then there's been times where things have changed. But recently, these changes that I've been going through, I have four of them specifically that I can think of off the top of my head. And one of them is my eating habits have changed, uh, primarily because my body has changed. And what do I mean by that? Recently, not even recently, I would say maybe a few months back, I was diagnosed with celiac disease. That's an autoimmune disease where my immune system or something attacks itself if I eat gluten, and it perceives that as some sort of invader or something like that. But the problem has been that along with that autoimmune disease, other things have, I cannot eat any grains without having inflammation. I cannot eat red meat without without the side effects of inflammation. I cannot have any sugar. I cannot have any sugar. And here I am. I'm someone who likes sweets, and I can't have any sugar because the effects that it has on my body are it's just bad. I can't have any grains, any dairy. I cannot have any dairy. I cannot have any dairy. I cannot have any sugar. I cannot have any grains, especially processed grains. Even if it was, let's say, rice flour or almond flour or something like that, I've not been able to eat that stuff. It really messes me up. And the side effects that I've been dealing with these things has been extreme pain in my stomach, not being able to eat for days, having the pain in my stomach for days, my skin breaking out, my hair falling out. Just it's just when when my body reacts that way, when I have an autoimmune response that way, it affects everything. So the best thing for me to do is to not eat any of those things. And so it's been a challenge, but it's been an adventure at the same time. Learning how to eat. I'm learning how to eat differently. I had already made a lot of changes over the years, but now I'm learning how to eat differently, just totally differently, because even the changes that I made, I was able to incorporate certain meats, and I was able to incorporate some cheese or dairy, or I was able to incorporate gluten. That wheat products, flour wasn't an issue, but in hindsight, I think it was still an issue. I just did not recognize that it was an issue, and I just considered some things just normal. But in the process of that, I just simply got to a point where my body just maybe I always had celiac. I don't know. But I know that the celiac has caused a chain reaction, and it in any of those things, any one of those things messes me up to a point where it's hard to get up out of the bed. It's hard to wake up. The fatigue that comes over me makes me not even want to move my limbs, not even want to hardly walk sometimes. That's how bad the pain can be. That's how bad the fatigue can be. To whereas every morning it's a struggle just trying to get up to go to the gym. And I am the kind of person that gets up and I'm at the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, right? And so that's been just a challenge. So that's one of the things that I've noticed has changed. And everything everything about my diet has changed, and so now I'm in a place where I can't flip-flop. I can't go back to old habits. I can't do any of that. I am forced into this change, and so it was hard at first. I think I cried a little bit because I had realized I was in so much pain, and I realized this is actually a permanent change in my life, and so I have to adjust and I have to find another way. So that's one thing, is my eating habits have changed. Another thing that has changed is I don't feel the need to rush. I don't feel the need to rush. I don't feel the need to struggle to make things work out or make things happen. and I'm no longer resisting the natural flow of things. Time used to be a really big deal for me. The time, just in general, everything being on a set time, and for me, and the reason why, and this could be a whole other video, but the reason why time has always been such a big deal for me is because, as a young child growing up, I was abused by my father because of and part of the abuse came because I was not old enough. I couldn't tell time on a traditional clock, and I was too young. I had not learned how to tell time on a clock that way, but I could tell time on a digital clock, and I endured quite a bit of abuse, sometimes in the middle of the night, just because I would be woken up out of my sleep to go and tell the time on this clock, and I could not do it. And so the abuse was at the hands of my father, unfortunately. I thank God for restoration of relationships, and if you had met my father or saw us in person today, he passed away a few months back, but if you had seen us in person today, you would have no idea that that was the nature of our relationship when I was a child. That's how much our relationship had developed and gotten stronger, and forgiveness is amazing. But the residue of that is that I was so bent by time, and I had to be at every place or do everything by a specific time. And I was always early, always early for things, always I'm really concerned about the time. And so, if there was an event, or there was somewhere I needed to be, or even work, I was so anal about getting prepared for where I needed to be so that I could be there early to not reach the actual time that a thing started. That's what I would do. And so it was, and so when other things in life came up, and I had a timeline or a deadline or a set time to be somewhere, I would abandon other things to make that time schedule. That could be abandoning relationships, abandoning things, abandoning situations, abandoning family when there's events, or anything. Whatever I found that was the priority, and I needed to do something at a set time, it would take precedence over anything else. And so today, I have no desire to be in a rush. If it doesn't fit in the time, I'm not in a rush to. I'm not bent out of shape trying to make things work in time. If it doesn't fit, if it doesn't work, if I'm not there on time, it just is what it is. And this used to be even so much about little things. I was so anal about what time I had to be at the gym in the morning, what time I had to finish, then what time I had to get to the sauna, and then what time I had to leave the sauna. And I would plan out everything by a set time. Probably the night before, as I'm going to sleep, I would even plan out my time in terms of my workout. Being that bent about time that's bondage. So, I'm free now, and so that's the thing. So I'm not so bent about time anymore. And if something doesn't fit, I'm learning to go with the flow, the natural flow of life, of my life. And if there's things that I have to do, but there's things that I want to do, and I only have so much time, I'm not in a rush to try to get to the next place. I'm just a lot more chill. I think that's probably a better word for it. I'm a lot more chill in terms of time. And I'm thankful for that. Another thing that I have that I've gone through, another change, is that I'm more settled into my life now. I'm more settled into my life and more grounded in my faith. Over the pruning season and the constant battle to get into the Word and to read it and to study it, there were times where God had to kind of help me understand not to go into the Word right now with the mindset that I'm studying, not to go into it like a duty, but just read it And I had to just sit down many times early in the morning and just read it. Sometimes I wasn't even pulling anything from it. I was so frustrated. I was like, man, I'm trying to read this. I'm trying to get some wisdom and some understanding, and nothing's hitting me. And it wouldn't hit me right away, but it would hit me, let's say I would talk to someone and what I read, it applies. And so I would have a word for them. And then I realized, okay, that's a blessing. I might not have been able to get a word for myself at the time, but I was able to get one for someone else, and point them to the Bible. But I've gotten more settled into my life. I'm settled, into it. I, 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 I have my times where I garden and I just go away. I found that I love the smell of dirt. I love planting seeds and growing food. I like gardening. I like not like flowers and stuff, but really food, growing food. And I really want to expand that and do more with that. But I really, really, really enjoy it. And so I've been doing a lot of that and doing a lot of yard work and beautifying the place where I'm at, and spending time with my family, and just enjoying the fact that God has blessed me with a well-rounded life. I have a well-rounded life. I'm not missing or lacking in anything. And if I were, I believe that God would provide it, because I'm lacking it, and He believes that I need it. And I have a well-rounded life. I have no reason to complain, even when you go through different changes, family changes, even with desires that you may want. At the end of the day, you look at your life and you're like, man, God, I have a well-rounded life. I have the purpose. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what you want me to be doing here, and I'm doing those things, and I'm learning, and I'm growing professionally, personally. It's just physically, mentally, I'm growing. Spiritually, I'm growing, and I'm really thankful for that. So that's another thing. Lastly, and I know that there's more, but this is kind of all. This is kind of just a quick video. I found new wisdom in my failures. I've had quite a bit of failure over the past year. I've experienced quite a bit of failure, especially in business. And yet I have this drive to just, nothing in me says stop, says not do anything. With every single failure that I've experienced, I have learned so much wisdom that has, it's almost like every failure I've been able to take it and use it like a stepping stone. It's very interesting. It's very interesting how people fear failure, but I found that you can't fear failure, and you can't fear taking risks. Now I'm not saying just jump out there and, on oncoming traffic on the expressway, right? That's a risk. I'm not saying that. I'm saying calculated, obviously, contemplated risk, right? Risk nonetheless, because usually with risk, you don't know the outcome. You can project the outcome. You can try to predict the outcome, but the truth of the matter is you don't know what the outcome is going to be. And so you can't be afraid to take risks, and you can't be afraid to fail. And sometimes people don't take risks because they're afraid that the risk may fail. And it's true, the risk may fail. The risk that you take, it may fail. But the failure is not meant to end you. The failure is meant to be a stepping stone. You take the failure happens, you see how you missed it, and then you take a step on top of that failure, and then you go up a little bit higher. Now you're prepared a little bit better. And so that's what failure, I feel, is for. They're stepping stones, or they're steps, right? And that's all that they are. They're not the end of the world. They're not the end of your life. They're just failures. Not anything to be afraid of. And so with those failures, I have learned quite a bit. And I didn't fail alone. You know, I have a team of people that failed with me. They watched me fail. They have felt the failure because they believe I entrusted work to them that they felt like they failed. You know, and so I learned how to be a better leader, how to encourage those that I lead, that work for me, how to build them up, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about failure. I've learned a lot, and then in all of it, giving up is not even an option. It's just not an option. It's weird because it's, I think maybe I'm being strengthened too, to be able to go farther in business. And if I can get the failures out of the way now and then get some success later, I'm fine with that, right? I'm really fine with that. So that's what I've learned. No need to rush. Change my eating habits. I've gotten more settled in life and grounded in my faith. And I found new wisdom in my failures. And so I hope that anything that I said helps you. If you have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to ask them, and I will try to answer them as best as I possibly can. If you like this video, if you want to watch more videos, hit the subscribe button. Check the alert button so that you can get alerts for when new videos come out. And yeah, and I just pray that you are encouraged to continue to walk with God, and continue to trust Him, continue to love Him, and just continue to fight and not give up when things get tough. All right, well, I gotta go. Got a meeting, so have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.